What's going on, everyone? This is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Today I want to do something a little bit different and talk a little bit about my admin process. And I've been using this company called Belay for the last 60 or so days, and I want to do a review on them and share my experience right after the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. I have an internal team for my company, Foresight Industries. And then also I have Sheenapreneur, and Sheenapreneur has the course GovCon Now, this YouTube channel, and I have some books and I have some other stuff that's teaching about government contracting and other business stuff. So with that, I realized that I can't do it all. I can't do it all on this side of the business. Even though I have a full staff on the other side, I had no one on the Sheenapreneur side besides me, Sheena. And so with that, I just was thinking about how I can, hire someone, or should I hire someone? Should I get an intern? What should I really do? Because the company just grew so fast that I didn't even really get a chance, or really didn't focus on how I was going to scale it. And so I had read a book a while back called Virtual Culture. And Virtual Culture pretty much teaches you about how to operate in a virtual environment. And this is before COVID that I read this book. And of course, COVID happened and all of us have learned how to work in a virtual environment a lot better, even when it comes to school and stuff with our kids, if you have kids, or someone has transitioned over to the virtual world more since COVID. As the making of this video, we're about, maybe 1 year, not post-COVID, but 2023. So most of us have either stayed in the virtual world or we have, at least experienced it during the heavy COVID times. But that book really introduced me to a lot of different methods that you can use when you're just, working in a virtual environment. My company has been run out of my home office for its duration, Foresight Industries, since its inception in 2017. I've never had the need for an office. So that includes that my staff is also virtual. Now, with the exception of my labor force who works physically in buildings, my executive staff is all remote, 100% in different states. So this was even more beneficial for me, even though I don't think I even had any employees at that time, maybe not quite yet in 2019 when I read this book, but it did give me some insight as to how a successful virtual company could run their business. So boom, then Belay came about, and a friend of mine had actually used them during COVID, and she said it was a great experience. And so that was, again, 3 years ago, and she reminded me when I was just explaining that I needed an extra hand when it came to working with Sheenapreneur and GovCon Now and these types of things. And she was like, well, have you thought about using Belay? I used them in 2020. And I'm like, oh yeah, I read the book in 2019, which she didn't even know I read the book. It was just interesting how it came back full circle. And so, I reached out, and the process from beginning to end was absolutely phenomenal. You sign up on their website, you just put in your information, and then they schedule a call with you. Once you do the call, they kind of ask you like what you're looking for, like what do you need, and they explain how their company works and how they use, US-based virtual assistants. And so in the past, I have used, overseas virtual assistants, which weren't horrible, but it just didn't work for me. It didn't work for what I was trying to do. And the language barrier, especially when it comes to like social media and stuff like that, it didn't jive with what I was trying to do back then. So I know it wouldn't jive now. So I wasn't interested in any type of overseas, even though I know it's cheaper. I got it. For some businesses, it may work exceptionally well. And then you may have found like a really, really good virtual assistant overseas. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying at the time that I tried it, it didn't work for me. And then also on, I guess the flip side of that, I hired a virtual assistant locally through a staffing agency. Did not work out. And one of the things I realized is that I needed someone to work 9 to 5. I didn't want someone to come in and work whenever they felt like it. That didn't work because the government works 9 to 5. Sheena works, I work 24/7, I guess. But basically, I wanted to know when this person was working. And so Belay addressed all that. They do 9 to 5. All their assistants are US based. They do, they tell you, explain to you how much it's going to be, how the hours work. And I actually pulled it up because they do more than just virtual assistants. So I'm using my phone. I know this is I hope it's gonna flip, but you can hire a virtual assistant. You can hire a social media assistant. They have accounting services. you can hire an entire workforce virtual assistants. And so essentially I'm kind of doing that anyway, but it wasn't through Belay at the time. But I recognized that having a really like a good structure in place and having someone to kind of help you choose your talent, if you will, made a huge difference. So fast forward, here we are in 2023. I'm reminded about Belay, and my friend is like, hey, just see if it works out. So I do my initial call. Then I do my, I guess, second initial call, second call with a local talent manager, if you will. And she just had an hour conversation, maybe an hour and a half conversation with me about what my company does, what I'm looking for. And at the time, I'm only focused on Sheenapreneur. She did mention to me as a side note that the assistant can work on whatever you want them to work on. It could be for your personal needs. It could be for, you know, anything really. And I'll talk more about how they do like a little sheet where you can fill in all your data for the assistant to do. But anyway, we had a conversation about what my company does, what I was looking to do, how many hours perhaps that I think I might need. And I pretty much had that nailed down because I was doing Sheenapreneur completely by myself for the last over a year. So I kind of knew what I needed. I didn't have everything perfect and with a bow on it, but I definitely had a strong hold on what I needed, because not knowing what you need can make it really challenging to hire someone. And I find that a lot when I talk to some of my students, or I talk to just people in business in general, is that they'll hire someone and say, I need an admin, I need this, I need this. When that person is hired, they don't know where to put them. They don't have any work for them. So they're essentially wasting time and they're wasting money, because that person is brought on and basically doing nothing for pay for at least a little while in most cases, if you're not already an up and running company, especially in the virtual world. So with that, Belay had the conversation with me. It really was like a matching of a personality. So she asked, you know, what do I do? What do I like to do? What does my company represent? You know, where am I located? Am I okay with someone that's not on the East Coast? Am I okay with, you know, so can they be anywhere? Do they need to speak another language? Do they need to schedule your kids' doctor's appointments? Like stuff like that. So it was really interesting that the level of detail that they ask when it comes to hiring. And so it takes all the hiring stuff out. I mean, truly, it takes out that process that most of us hate, and that's interviewing and putting out the ad on Indeed or even Fiverr or LinkedIn. And then you're able to, you know, cut that part out, and this company is gonna find someone for you. So boom, that was my second call. And you know, it was really good because the talent manager that I had, she was super spunky, she was fun, she was nice to talk to, she heard me, she listened, made notes. And then, you know, fast forward, they say to give them anywhere between, I think, 4 days and 2 weeks to find someone for you, because I don't know where they get their network from. I didn't really ask, but they have a network of all types of assistants, and they ask you like, what does this person absolutely need to have? What would be great if this person had? For me, I really needed help with managing my course stuff. So this person needed to be familiar with Thinkific. Thinkific is the platform that I have my course on. They had to be obviously extremely computer savvy, as far as, well, let me not say extremely computer savvy, but more like they needed to be able to navigate email and navigate, you know, problems virtually very, very well. And so it's kind of crazy to think that a virtual assistant may not be savvy, but they may not be good at certain types of industries. So I needed this person to be familiar with course building, a little bit familiar with YouTube and funnels and those types of things. So they say give 4 days to 2 weeks to find someone, the perfect match, and then they'll email you, schedule an appointment, and then you talk to that person, and then you guys have your kumbaya, 3 people on the call. You're introduced to them, they're introduced to you, and then, you know, any questions that we may have for each other. And of course, the talent manager from Belay is facilitating this whole conversation. So there's not that awkward, let me ask you the 10 questions. Now you can do those, because I think every call that we've had has been maybe scheduled for anything between 45 minutes to an hour and a half to make sure that everyone's comfortable. If it's shorter than that, great. So you go, you know, your person is chosen, and then they ask you to have, before that person starts, to have maybe like a list of tasks ready for them, so they're not just, you know, jumping on the clock essentially and not really doing anything, or, you know, bothering you at your most peak time. So it's good to kind of have that stuff ahead of time. Actually, they asked me to have that when they were looking for someone for me. So I don't know if they guarantee you someone, but I mean, my friend that used it, she was in government contracting janitorial. So, you know, I don't know what qualifications that person needed to have, but it was more like conflict resolution, I believe, in her case. So, you know, you just have to be patient and wait on someone who may not be exactly in your field, but they seem to have a good formula, a good network on where to find these people and, you know, who can match up with who. So that was really good. So we had our initial meeting with, you know, my new assistant, the talent manager, me, and then they gave me a really long sheet of all the things about me, basically, like my social media handles, my birthday, special events, anything that's coming up on my calendar that the assistant needs to be aware of. I mean, this is like a full service assistant if you need them to be that. I didn't need her to be that. I needed her to be solely focused on Sheenapreneur, and that was it. Not even really any social media stuff like that, as I showed you earlier with the phone. Like they have a whole social media part. I might dive into that one day, but as of now, you know, it's great with what we have. So in addition to them doing the meeting with you initially, they check in with you via text. Really, you got to tell them how you like to communicate. For me, I'm like, please just send me a text, because it's calling, you know, if there's any calling involved, it's gonna be rough, or email, but typically text is the fastest way to communicate with me. So my talent manager, Becky, she texts, checking in, making sure everything's okay after like the first week, and then the second week, and then first month, and, you know, week 5, week 6, they really make sure that this is a good match. So they'll ask me separately, ask my assistant, or they'll ask the assistant separately, and then we'll get on a call together, all 3 of us again, and just see if there's anything that can be improved on, put it all on the table today, and see, you know, what needs to be changed, improved, or whatever. And so luckily I got the best assistant ever, and we haven't had any issues, like literally no issues. I think we actually kind of think alike as far as our communication, straight to the point. She comprehends very well. She understands what I'm saying. She reads my mind, I swear. And I've just had such a really good experience with Belay. Now, this is not a sponsored video at all. I just wanted to share because it's come up in a couple of conversations that I've had recently about virtual assistants, or any type of assistant really. And even I would go on to say that some people feel, let me just say this loosely, some people may feel that they have to have an in-person assistant when they really don't. I was like, anybody can be virtual. And then at one point I did want an in-person, but then I'm like, well, we don't really operate like that. And my office is my home. I'm not really looking for someone to be sitting in the cubicle doing something. Like, if you're done with the things I wanted you to do, then that's it. That's fine. You don't have to just find busy work that's for the sake of being busy. I want you to, still I have downtime. I want them to have downtime as well. And I know sometimes you want someone to just work nonstop, even when they're on the clock. I just deal with, if they're gonna do what they need to do, there shouldn't be any issues with me. And so, that's kind of how it is with this relationship. She showed me so much stuff, gaps that I had in my processes. I was doing a lot of stuff manually, only because I was just so used to it. And she's like, no, I've done a bunch of courses. You need to do da-da-da-da-da. And so that was really helpful, because it's like someone looking, not just a student, but someone who has built courses and looking from the outside in, like, whoa, change this, change this, change this. So my experience with Belay has been so incredible. I believe I'm at 45 hours per month, or 40 hours per month, and it's around $1,800 a month. She does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I didn't even know she was doing in order to help the course. And I'm like, oh my God, you're like sent from heaven. So some of those tasks where, it might take you a couple of hours or a couple of days to resolve an issue, because you got to call, say PayPal, you got to email them, wait for the email to come back, and then they give you the resolution, and it wasn't a resolution, and you got to fix it. Like, all those things take so much time. And with me running 2 companies, one 7-figure, one 6-figure company, is really hard to balance all those things, the things that absolutely have to happen, but then there's other things that absolutely have to happen as well. So Belay has been a blessing to me, and I'm sure many others. So if you want to find out more information, I will leave the contact information in the description. Sometimes I forget that, so forgive me, girl, if I do forget to put the exact information in the description. But if you're at the end of this video, be like, hey Sheena, I don't see nothing in the description about this lady. So my bad, but yes, I want to share this information with you all. And of course, if you do reach out and you do sign up with this service, make sure you mention your girl Sheena Parker. Again, this is not a sponsored video. This is just me sharing my experience and trying to help you all in your government contracting journey. So remember to look through our Circle platform to get some information from some of the those who are actually participating in contracts, those who are looking to get into contracts, those who have service contracts, contracting officers. We have hundreds of people in our group now, and it would be great if you can bring in your expertise, ask questions, make it interactive, you know, make sure that the group is doing what it's supposed to do for all of us. And of course, right now, doing a Black Friday sale. Make sure you're just staying motivated and putting one foot in front of the other. Until next time, it's your favorite veteran.